So, Babylon's Ashes is the sixth book in the sci-fi or space opera series The Expanse, written by James S. A. Corey, the pseudonym of writers Ty Frank and Daniel Abraham. Obviously, this series is nowadays more well known for its amazing TV adaptation, and this book in particular is going to be adapted into the sixth season of the show, coming out later this year, I believe, which will also be its final season. And since this isn't the final book, it will be interesting to see what the season will leave out from this book and what things from the later books will be incorporated into the final season. But we're not here for that. We're not here for the show. We're here about Babylon's Ashes, the book. And since this is the sixth book, I can't exactly give you the same type of premise that I usually do, because that would be full of spoiler. So, yeah. Hi. My name is Random Guy Reviews. I do reviews of books, movies, TV shows, and any other types of media that I consume in these poorly edited, low-budget videos that I have on my channel. And in this one, I am reviewing Babylon's Ashes by James S. A. Corey. And as always, my reviews are just my own personal opinions. It is subjective and you can obviously disagree with it. So, yeah, let's get started, I suppose. And let's get started with the title. Babylon's Ashes. It's an amazing title. It's very fitting. Like all of the Expanse titles, it is very evocative and epic sounding, but unlike some of the other titles in the series, which might not be obvious until you read the entire thing, this one is very much obvious if you already read the previous book, which is Nemesis Games, which is still my favorite book in the entire series so far. So yeah, in the aftermath of the things that happened in Nemesis Games, where the crew got separated and then some history-altering things happened, in Babylon's Ashes, the crew finally returned to some kind of familiar but not exactly the same status quo, but now they must deal with, well, everything else. A very important thing about this book is that in terms of the scale of who and what are involved in the story, this book might just be the most epic book in the series. I don't remember exactly the amounts of POVs, of unique POVs in each of the previous books, but I am 99% sure that this book has more than the rest. Or if it doesn't, it just feels that way. And this is both good and bad. The good thing is that it's epic, like truly epic. Even in the previous books, things already felt epic, but this one felt even more so because we get to see things from perspectives that we normally wouldn't have gotten a perspective from, if that even makes sense. In this one, we get perspectives from people who are in positions that are never really put under the spotlight before, and that's nice because it means now I know more about how things work in a more complete way, and it answered some questions I had about the world building. But at the same time, there are also some POV characters who didn't really get many chapters, so they didn't really have any development or any story arc whatsoever. And that's just not very satisfying to me, I guess. Also, a few of the unique POV characters could have been combined into a single POV character without losing the understanding of how things work, while also adding character depth and, nuance, I guess. There was even one POV character in particular who has appeared in the series before, and they didn't really have that big of an impact in this book, and it seemed like their chapters were just a bit useless, I guess, I don't know. However, with all that said, I am really happy with the main characters in this one. Sure, some of them kind of got sidelined, and the ones that didn't get sidelined instead got some subplots that were detached from the main plot and didn't really matter in the long run, but still, I enjoyed them all. Holden's chapters, in particular, are amazing. Looking back at the previous books, he was always interesting, even if I didn't always think so when I was actually reading the books. There are so many nuances and facets of his characters that are seemingly contradictory in nature, and I feel like that's what makes him very interesting. He is a complex main character. But in this one, I noticed that there is something else that makes me very drawn to his POV chapters, and that is his narration is really fucking funny sometimes, like really, really funny. And this is something that I never got from the other characters' narration, or even Holden's narrations in the previous books. So that's really entertaining, I guess. I feel like the emotional beats of the main characters' arcs hit harder in this one because of how high the stakes are. The stakes were already high in the previous book, but even more so in this one because it's like a do or die kind of situation, but for the whole entire solar system. And that means everything feels more real, and the things the characters do feel like they actually have consequences, if that makes sense. And that brings me to the plot. I liked most of it, except the ending. Before getting into that though, I have to say, even the way the story is structured near the end feels a bit strange. Everything in the first 75% was good, but then the climax happened and it felt like it was too early for that, so I figured maybe it was an extended climax or something. But it was over really quickly, and not long after that, there was another build up to another climax, and I thought that was weird, but then as it happened, I realized that it wasn't even a climax. Not really, because it was handled in a way that felt a bit hand wavy, if that makes sense. Like, it is something that was already foreshadowed in the previous book, but I don't think the things that happen in that second pseudo climax or whatever is foreshadowed enough within this book. At the end, it means that it fell flat and it felt very unsatisfying, especially considering everything that came before that. But still, like I said, I still liked most of the plot. There are a lot of nuances in it and a lot of philosophical things that happen that are played out in the plot. And sure, that means that it can drag down a bit and it can take a while before things get exciting again, but I don't really have a problem with that, I guess. So, yeah, it's not the best Expanse book, but it has its moments, and as a whole, I think it's still a decent enough experience. So I would probably give it a 3.5 out of 5 or something. And coming into the next books, I think the way the book ends made me excited for whatever is gonna happen next, which is similar to the previous book. By that I mean both book ends with events that change things so much that everyone knows that things will never be the same again. But the book did them in very different ways. And yeah, in short, I have high hopes for the last few books of the series. And yeah, that's my thoughts and my feelings about this book. Um, Hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.